world, how you doing? This is your boy, the one and only H to the E to the N to the R-Y. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are today, and I hope you've already enjoyed the first 5 days out of 7 days of things you need to do, or I beg your pardon, things you need to avoid at all costs in your journey to wellness and longevity. Thank you guys for your comments, thank you for your likes, thank you for your support. It really means a whole lot to I and the crew. Today, I'm going to be talking about the 6th thing I think you need to avoid at all costs. And this is award season, and as you know, I'm doing it award style today. Number 6, culprit. And the 7 things that you need to avoid in your journey to wellness and longevity is ta-da-da, processed meat. This guy, he bad. Now, for many of us who do not live in the West today, this might not be so much of a big deal to you because you kind of know the source of your livestock and your cattle and your meat, you know where all that comes from. But for many of us here in the West, it is a big deal. Things like hot dogs, pepperoni, ham, bacon, bologna, and even steak. Many times these all come from processed sources and they're really not good for us. Yes, it's been known to increase our cholesterol level, and processed meat has been heavily related to heart diseases. But I'm just going to break this down a little bit for you so you understand how this works and not just say, oh, avoid meat. I'm going to tell you why you should avoid it, and I'll tell you what to do. Now, one of the major reasons why you should avoid heavily processed meats, especially from low quality sources, is because they are high in sodium nitrates. And if sodium nitrate is that bad for us, heavily linked to heart diseases, why then do they have it in meats? 2 reasons. One, it goes along with to preserve the redness of the meats, and it also preserves its shelf life. Think about it. You poke yourself, blood comes out. After a while, that blood begins to go from bright red to, say, tonic red or dark red because it's oxygenated. But then this animal has been killed like days or even weeks, and then you get to the store to pick up the meat, it's still red and fresh. Sodium nitrate. That's that's one of its duties. It helps prevent its shelf lives, protects the whole redness and all that. And then it also, on the low side, kind of prevents what we call botulism. According to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control in the United States, botulism is a very terrible paralytical disease, and you get it from this bacteria called botulin. Botulin is found sometimes in meat, but it's very rare. I mean, it's not a big deal. But something that sodium nitrate does is that it can inhibit the development or formation of botulin. So many times, if you even have to eat this thing, sometimes you want to reduce your quantity. It shouldn't be a staple food. You should eat this kind of meat like once in a rare while. That's what I do many times. The second reason why we should avoid heavily processed, or rather processed meat, especially when they're coming from low quality sources, is because many times this meat is not even grass-fed. Many times you find out these meats are even corn-fed. Yeah, because with the growth of industrialization, you find out that these animals are grown in controlled environments. And this corn we're talking about has the same properties like vegetable oil, because you find out that most of this vegetable oil are actually from corn oil. And this corn are heavily genetically modified substances. And that tells you that this is not very okay for me. And that tells you that they are also very rich in omega-6 fatty acids. And like I said, you don't need a lot of omega-6 fatty acid, especially in ratio with omega-3 fatty acids in your body. So this just cares to increase it. And also, these animals being fed with a whole lot of corn, and this corn oil and the activities of this corn oil in their system is very similar to the activities of vegetable oil in our system. So you have many of those cattle and livestock getting sick, and they get loaded with doses of antibiotics. These antibiotics further weakens the immune system. They get sick again. They get loaded with lots and lots of antibiotics. Eventually, they get killed. They get processed and sent to us right there in the store, you find out that your efforts to avoid some of these things get to creep in back into your system through this guy if you're not very careful. So at the end of the day, what you're trying to avoid from here, you get to find it getting back into your system from here. And that's why you have to really avoid processed meats. I mean, at all costs. At all costs. No, leave the guy alone. Don't make it your staple thing. Once in a while, you might want to eat, but rather than just eating processed meats from low quality sources, how about you upgrade the source of your meats? How about you want to get meats from brands that you really trust to a large extent with high reputation? That when they say organic, to a large extent is largely organic. And what I do, I mean, many times is that I go to a farm. I go to an animal farm around me. I go to this farm right here in Philadelphia, and I can see this animals grazing. You know, I point and I kill the animal that I really want. Even our chicken, I point and I kill. That way, to a large extent, you understand the sources of the meat that you're eating. It's what I recommend too. So, you know, look for a local farm around you. Make sure you upgrade the sources of your meat if you really must eat meat at all. And if you do eat meat, if you don't eat meat, good. I'm not talking about the dangers of meat right now. I'm just talking about how that you should avoid the very processed one, because it really is detrimental to your health. Now, I hope that helps. I hope that kind of enlightens you a little bit on why you should avoid processed meat, especially when they're from low quality sources. For this, you don't need faith. Take your faith, go out there and be all that you really want to be, whatever it is. Like I say, a great mom, a great dad, a great student, a great friend, an inventor, whatever it is, the world is out there waiting for you. Don't take that for granted at all. I believe in you and I love you guys.